I'm Joey.
I'm Jason.
And this is Metal
Monster
Review. Today we're going to discuss a movie from 1979. And we're going to get into some classic Italian horror here. We're going to go with a real gore-fest film. Today we're going to discuss Lucio Fulci's 1979 film, Zombie. This is a really cool film if you've never seen it. This really utilizes a lot of practical effects, slow-moving zombies, voodoo. It's just got everything that you could want in a zombie movie. Now, Jason, would you like to talk about the plot a little bit?
Zombie, we mentioned this before. Guess where it takes place at?
New York City. Every Italian horror film has to film somewhere in New York City. They must think that's like the basis for America or something. Like, here's the center point to go. I don't know if they had a contract for filming or if it was just they loved the sightseeing aspect or what. But as you mentioned, they utilized it and they're filmed in New York City. And we also see some classic Italian actors, Italian film actors in this movie who have also been in other films that were based out of New York. Ian McCulloch, who was in Zombie Holocaust, Dr. Butcher, Medical Deviant, which also filmed New York. So we're seeing some reoccurring faces in this one.
Well, the movie starts out in New York Bay, and this boat just appears in the harbor, and the police come to investigate what's going on, and they really didn't. I don't think they did a good job of trying to secure this boat. The one they send having problems with the sail, so the one cop goes down to investigate the bottom of the boat, and sure enough, the fattest zombie I ever seen.
And that's the thing too, and that's what it's referred to as, the fat zombie. But as he mentioned a moment ago, the police are down there, they're investigating this boat here, and you see a lot of worms.
Yeah.
It's like you could tell
there
there's
was as soon as you mentioned that scene there, the soundtrack of this movie, that weird music it makes when it shows the worms, it's a creepy little vibe.
It is. So it's got a really cool soundtrack too, which is something that I want to mention here. So they see that there's worms, and you can tell that maybe something was dead there, something was decayed there. So this is kind of foreshadowing about what we're about to get into here. And all of a sudden, coming out of nowhere, just like a fucking bolt of lightning, here comes this fat zombie and just kills this police officer and just bites his throat. And you, once again, and this is what I love about Italian horror, you get the blood spraying, buddy. Yeah. So blood just gushing and just coming at you. He goes above deck, and where the other officer, his partner, was, and he's giving him direct orders to freeze or he'll shoot. Don't move, I'll shoot. Don't move, I'll shoot. And he just lights him up. Just fires a couple of shots. The zombie falls off the boat.
And they find the daughter to whom this boat belongs to, and the police question her. And they tell her it's her father's boat, but she hasn't talked to her father for months. He's supposed to be on some island doing research. And then, a little cool thing, Lucio Fulci actually has a little scene in this movie.
Yes, he has a bit of a cameo there, which I did like.
Well, they send the little Peter, I think his name in the movie, they want him to investigate this whole boat situation. I guess it's a big deal.
Well, hey, he's a journalist, a reporter, trying to find out the scoop of what's going on, because we later find out that this girl, her name is Anne, her father is staying at an island called Matul. And so basically they're going to work together here because he wants to find out what happened to her father and the boat and everything for his story, but she needs some closure to find out where's her father because she's deeply concerned about him. So they meet up with another couple and kind of work out wheel and deal here. It says, look, we know you guys are on vacation. Can you help us out? We're trying to get to this island. We'll pay for our own supplies. Firm handshake, high five, hug, whatever ails you. And they just kind of settle the deal, and they end up venturing together. And on their way to Matul, they end up, well, hey, man, we're on vacation here. We're going to stop and we're going to, the wife is going to go underwater. She's going to scuba dive, take her pictures, whatever it is she does.
But you got to get naked first.
Yeah, damn right. In front of complete strangers, too, which, hey, everybody was pretty cool and comfortable. Nobody seemed to mind at all. So she goes under the water in one of the most interesting scenes that you will ever see in cinema history here, and especially in a horror film, is we're going to go to the zombie versus shark scene.
Oh, now mind you, there's no CGI in this whatsoever. It's a man dressed as a zombie trying to eat a shark and fighting with it.
And when the fuck do you ever see anything like that? I love that scene. I love practical effects.
I've heard some rumors about that scene where the shark was supposedly sedated. I don't care how much sedation you put in a fucking shark. I'm not going to try to wrestle it and bite it.
And that's exactly what he had to do.
I mean, the scene it's just amazing because the zombies like literally hanging on the side of the shark, gnawing at it. And the one part, the zombie's arm goes in the shark's mouth and the shark just bites it off. It's like, it's so cool.
Yeah, that's something you've never seen before, and that's what I always kind of appreciate because this is something truly unique. So, once we get past the zombie versus shark scene, now we're on our way to the island where we meet our doctor, Dr. Menard, who turns out that he was working with Anne's father trying to discover a cure for a virus that has been bringing the dead back to life.
Yeah, the locals are saying it's voodoo, but he's a man of medical science and he thinks there's some logical explanation to why this is happening. He doesn't believe it's voodoo.
So he's hoping to get to the bottom of this answer, but more or less he's just getting to the bottom of the liquor bottle because he has just really run out of sources. He's at his wit's end. He's like, look, I've been studying this, researching it, and there's nothing to explain this phenomena whatsoever. So now they're there. They're going to stay with the doctor, and they're actually going to the doctor's house to check in on his wife, who earlier was killed in a really graphic way. And the scene I'm referring to is with where the zombies are coming through to the house, and she's trying to barricade herself in, and they break through the wooden door, and you have that jagged piece of wood there, and they lean in and grab her by the hair, and it's a slow shot, it's a long shot too, and they're pulling it in, and you can just see the eye getting closer to that piece of jagged wood, and you can just see the slow impalement of her eye. It's really unsettling, but it's really a well done effect for sure.
Yeah, then like you mentioned, when they got to the island, the doctor wanted them to go check on his wife. You guys are welcome to my colony, just check on my wife. But they should have went there a lot sooner.
Because when they come there and find out, she's lunch for about 6 zombies. And they're just gnawing everything. Legs gone, just her vital organs are eviscerated. She still has the jagged piece of wood in her eye. She had a rough afternoon.
Now, this is a creepy little scene because like the one zombie is just sitting there with his hands like tilted, just gnawing on the flesh, and you don't see shit like this anymore.
Because everything now is done with this digitally enhanced and CG and all these running zombies, and the thing is with full cheese zombies, they are slower than fucking molasses in January. Just absolutely slow.
That's one of my only complaints about this movie. Don't get me wrong, I love the slow moving zombies. I think they're more terrifying. But this takes slow to a whole different fucking level.
It does. Without a doubt.
They're up to the point where they're just like barely moving. It's like if you get killed by one of these, you probably deserve it.
Yeah, pretty much. You know what I mean? It's just like you're just standing there waiting for it to happen. Oh no. Oh no.
God, it's closer.
It's getting closer. Maybe I should run. I don't know. Think about it for a minute. Get a cup of coffee and fucking think it over. Like, what do I do next? But look, it's a really gory little gem, and this film I highly recommend it for sure.
And like I mentioned too, the soundtrack of this movie, Romero has some pretty cool, funky music in his zombie movies too, and this movie's right up there with the music soundtrack.
Yes, even the opening scene
Yeah.
of the movie and that, yes, and just that opening theme song. And anytime I hear that, I automatically affiliate it with this film. You know what I mean? It's a cool soundtrack, and it just stays with you. Now, do you have anything else you'd like to add with Zombie?
Actually, another little story about Zombie is a personal story for me. This movie, back in the day, we had a VHS big box. The VHS
Oh,
big
that'd be
boxes.
cool looking as hell to see that one.
There was this little store down the road from me, fruit stand, and they had a little section that had VHS tapes. And that's where I first saw this movie at, and it was in the VHS big box. I'd love to get my hands on one of them boxes.
And that'd be a cool little piece to put up on the shelf. How I stumbled into Zombie, I remember going to like Suncoast Video many years ago when it was in the local shopping malls, which now those are obviously long gone, and you know a lot of malls have closed down too. But I remember seeing it on like DVD there, and just you see that artwork with that zombie with all the worms coming out of his eyes, and it once again these things catch your interest. So
Well, as soon as you mentioned Suncoast, it reminded me of this movie's a little confusing. When it was released over here, it was called Zombie. Then, a couple years after I seen it the first time, I ended up buying a box set that came with Zombie 3, 4, and 5. I'm like, well,
where the hell's Zombie 2?
well, where's Zombie 2 at? So I started doing some research, and when Dawn of the Dead was released in Italy, they changed the title to Zombie. And then someone wrote a script was supposed to be a sequel to that in Italy. So when they made Zombie, the one we're talking about, when it was released in Italy, they slapped Zombie 2 on it. But when it was released here, it was called Zombie 1. It's just a little... I mean, I probably didn't explain that good.
No,
but
I understand what you mean, because especially when movies get released in different countries, that they'll change the title to them. So we had George Romero's Dawn of the Dead, and then here comes Zombie. But when it got released over in Italy, it was just referred to as Zombie 2: Dawn of the Dead. And then when it got re-released over here in the U.S., it was just called Zombie. So people are scratching their heads saying, well, what the fuck? Is there another movie that you're missing? But then when you buy these in like box sets, I think Shriek Show or whatever, as you just mentioned, they'll have Zombie 3, 4, and 5. Well, where the fuck's Zombie 1 and 2? You know what I mean? Then you get Zombie 2, which is the same thing as Zombie 1. Wrap your head around that. If you could piece all that together, hey. So, in conclusion, I'd say, look, check this film out. It's a gory little gem. I think you'll dig it for sure.
yes, if you like good gore, this is definitely one to check out.
Absolutely. I'm Joey,
I'm Jason.
and this is Metal
Monster
Review.